by speaking, asking certain questions. The people who are genuine have a heartfelt ability to express themselves. Others do not. And then just having strong rules. Being very aware of the tactics that have been used to infiltrate organizations in the past. The CIA handbook for disruption, for example, field guide for disruption of organizations, and looking out for that and having hard and fast rules against that, and being prepared to remove people who are just there to disrupt.
Yeah, well, I mean, my general approach to things is that anyone who comes around.
The term disruptor is actually used personally against me on many instances behind the scenes. So if I'm not, they could be talking about others. I'm sure there's others they've labeled disruptors, but
Betting, you need
okay.
Can, because even if they're not a cop, they could still put you in a huge amount of danger. And
Right.
that because I feel like communist groups in particular, they put themselves in danger because there is this desire to prove how revolutionary you are by talking up like how much you want a violent revolution or something. But in reality, if you look at all the great revolutions of history, they started out as advocating a peaceful transition, and then the
That's more in the Trotskyist. That was old school, talking about the violent revolution, stuff like that. There is some truth to that back in the day. Default sending me some nasty messages that I'm trying to attack anti-imperialists that are bigger, more successful, and more influential than you. Yeah, I help people with disabilities. Right now, someone named Default, he's actually sending some messages. He's quite angry with me. What the fuck is Bronner's career built? Yeah, I help. Yeah, I help people with disabilities. The Assange movement. I also oh, okay, it called me a race baiter. What the F has Bronner's accusers built? Me? I built well, did it's not really built. What about the money stolen? What about the with Bronner, even though he had more money? What have they done for anti-establishment populist movements? Well, I created something called 22. How about that? Anyways, yeah. So someone might be jumping on in a moment, but they are starting to address right the infiltration. Now they're gonna start
violent
trying.
revolution was forced. So no responsible revolutionary should ever go around advocating violence. You should advocate a peaceful transition to socialism. Violence is forced by the power structure. When people are threatened and killed, and their democratic right to struggle is taken away, that's when people are forced to defend themselves. But that's not something that we want.
Right.
And so I think that's an important rule that I go by. But yeah, the other thing is that I mean, there should be an effort to, like you said, Nick, make sure that everyone who comes around is genuine. There is always, every political space I've always been to, there's always some people that show up that you can't really understand why they're there. You know what I'm saying? And that's a red flag when it's like, why are you here? Why are you here? Well, at that point, that raises some questions. So, I mean, but the other thing, part of the whole COINTELPRO thing is making everyone paranoid, right? Making everyone think everyone else is a cop and all of that. So, if you spend all your time obsessing over who's an agent and accusing everyone who fights with you of secretly doing it on behalf of the government, that kind of plays into their hands. So, you got to watch out for that as well. That's my thoughts on that. But are there any other further questions for Nick or I? I guess, do you want to add anything? I know you mentioned a presidential campaign. Can you drop us any hints? I mean, I know you're not going to make any big announcements here tonight, but I mean, unless you want to. But I mean, can you drop us any hints of anything that might be in the works? Are there any exciting plans for 2024 or future elections?
Well, we would love for Jimmy to run, of course. We think it
too.
would be fantastic.
Fine, anyone else to run. You don't have any state
And there are others who we think would be really great as well. There's
Caleb Muffin might be able to help you with the paperwork to start a party in New York. Maybe. Y'all desperate.
an advantage in as a new party and getting set up in kind of picking a candidate ahead of time as a party because the way that our ballot access again is set up, they've made it so impossible to create a party, so difficult to create a party. But if as a party you can agree on someone ahead of time, then say a couple years out, it gives you more time to do ballot access, gives you more time to collect signatures, all the various different things that are necessary. And so, right now that's what we're thinking about. We're thinking about really who matches the zeitgeist, who is really going to be a principled leader who is going to stand up for working people, who is not going to fold when they face the pressure, when they face the attacks, when they face the smears, who has the ability to preferably reach large numbers of people and mobilize and inspire large numbers of people. And the other thing that I'll say is that in running a presidential campaign and a candidate, there are multiple ways of winning. One is if you take the White House, that's fantastic, but it's also a victory if you manage through the campaign to organize people to take stronger direct actions, say, for against the war, for healthcare, for anything. If you manage to build a stronger organization that opposes the establishment, if you manage to actually perhaps pull some of these new generation of unions, like the Starbucks and the Amazon unions and other unions that are organizing now that are coming up for the first time, if perhaps some of those unions could join together in partnership with a new party that rose at the same time, then they could perhaps avoid the death clutches of the Democratic Party, which is the fate of the labor movement right now. And so there's a lot of ways of winning and succeeding. And then, of course, there's getting the message out, positing an alternative vision. There's a lot of ways to win that don't necessarily entail winning the actual White House, although that would absolutely be the goal, because one strong belief of ours, and certainly of mine, is that you have to be willing to actually fight for what you need. Don't compromise off the bat, because then you will get nothing. You have to fight for what you need and demand what you need of the system.
Absolutely. So here's another question. Why does the anti-war energy, anti-establishment energy, and overall skepticism to the ruling class seem to almost not exist anymore on the left? What do you have to say about that, Nick?
I would say that's true if you define the left as those in Congress or in elected office. And although it is true, of course, that the mobilization, the level of mobilization, the level of anti-war organizing right now is at a low. It's at a low point. During the Vietnam War, there were hundreds of thousands of people who took the moratorium against the war, a broad coalition in 70 and 71. They came out to the National Mall. They surrounded the White House. They made Nixon afraid that they were going to overrun the White House. They prevented him from dropping atomic bombs in Vietnam, which was his plan to win the war, to start a third world war. And so that actually they helped end the war there. During the Iraq War, hundreds of thousands of people, again, coming out in Washington, D.C. to oppose the war. Of course, all across Europe as well. Now, in that case, in a sign of how unresponsive our political system and the two parties have become, that didn't have the same impact that it did there during the Vietnam War. It had an impact, but not the same impact. But today, you flash forward to today when we're waging this war for hegemony in Ukraine, which is, I think, the closest that we've come to nuclear war since the Cold War. And you have others like Ray McGovern saying that, Scott Ritter. The level of activism, the level of engagement in the anti-war movement is at a deplorable low. And that's why the people who are standing up and calling out politicians and taking direct action and refusing to be ignored and confronting the system in a visceral way, I think are providing a spark that could perhaps reignite the anti-war movement. I'm hoping. I'm certainly working towards that. We are as the People's Party. I know that others are as well, because I think that this country is tired of seeing tens of billions of dollars shoveled endlessly to war, and especially a war in Ukraine that serves absolutely has no purpose and no relevance to working people in this country, except for the fact that it's increased inflation, it's increased food prices, it's increased energy prices, it's leading to energy shortages with energy that's now being exported to Europe because of the high prices there. And so it's doing nothing that actually serves people in this country. And instead, it's imposing an enormous toll on the people of this country. So I think that the affront of the conditions in which people live in this country, the richest country in the world. When I was with Jimmy just earlier, one of the stories we covered was about how people are selling their blood, they're selling organs in this country, in order to survive. 2-3 jobs, of course, can't afford a place to live on a on a minimum wage income anywhere in the country. And so in the face of those deplorable conditions, when people see another $1 billion shipment, another $1 billion shipment, each one is a stab in the back of the working class of this country. And so I think that people are actually beginning to revolt to that, to the extent that even people in the Republican Party, like Majority Taylor Greene, are seizing upon that anger, that legitimate anger, even to the point where you have Kevin McCarthy. Now, I don't believe him when he says this, but the fact that he says it is a statement in and of itself, saying no more blank checks to Ukraine, if the Republicans take the House, and it appears that they have. And so the Democrats going to try to force through another $50 billion, it was reported, before the end of the year. They're going to try to force through another $50 billion to Ukraine, that might happen. So I think people are really beginning to draw the connection between the war and their own domestic conditions here in this country, and the absolute insult that it is that the conditions that people live in here, that with those conditions, that billions of dollars are being sent on a conveyor belt, on automatic and on high speed to Ukraine, in a war, in a country that the vast majority of Americans probably couldn't place on a map. They don't care they don't care about it, and so had no relevance to them. And of course, it's accelerating the collapse of the dollar, which is going to be the most catastrophic economic crisis to hit this country in generations. And so I think people are at a point where they're ready to, en masse, we are ready for a rebirth of the anti-war movement.
Yeah. Now, John McCarthy says Garland Nixon would be a great candidate. Well, I disagree, because if he becomes a candidate, then he won't have his radio show anymore. And I like listening to his radio show. His radio show is really, really awesome. He has a great show on Sputnik with Dr. Wilmer Leon. But no, he would be a great candidate. But I'm just being facetious there. What do you think of Garland Nixon? You met him in our Chicago conference, remember? Remember, Nick?
Garland's fantastic. I've known Garland for a few years. He's had me on his program before. We saw each other again at Assange Action here about a month ago, and so I think he's fantastic as well. I think he's a strong voice. He's a populist. He's an incredible critic of the war, and so I think that I think Garland is fantastic.
All right. So we got another question here. I'm worried about the significant number of young people suddenly dying recently. What do you make of this? This is Tanu Tahitian Fire. He says that. What do you think of that, Nick?
I've heard of that. And the most incredible thing, this isn't just an American phenomenon, it's also happening in Europe. It's happening, kind of premature or early deaths, unexpected deaths. And yes, yeah, young people being the most striking example. And I don't know why it's happening. I don't know if anybody necessarily knows why it's happening, but that's the most surprising thing, is that this phenomenon, there is this empirical phenomenon, and yet nobody's studying it. Nobody seems to be actually pursuing it, whether it's related to the vaccines, whether it's related to any kind of, any of the horrific chemicals that we ingest, or the toxins in our environment, whether it's related to any of that, whether it's a combination of the stress of the lives, that people live, or, things exacerbated by constant nuclear tension, who knows, but it's it needs to be studied, and the fact that it isn't is absurd.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you one thing that I think is definitely a factor, which is, I think that there is a conscious effort on a big part of the elite to drive down the population, and they openly say so. And on top of that, I'm somebody who works in the press, so I know how things work in the press, right? And I guess trigger warning if you're triggered by any talk of suicide. But one of the first rules in newspapers, TV reporting is you cannot cover suicides, because it is statistically proven that if you do news stories about someone committing suicide, more people will hear about it and commit suicide. And that's why people don't know the suicide rate is actually higher than the homicide rate. People kill themselves more than they kill other people. But you would never know that. People don't believe that statistic because you can't report on it. And so you don't report on suicide. So as somebody who realizes that this is the ethical rule, you cannot just have a news story about a suicide.
Wait,
How the hell
I've tuned into the,
does Netflix get away with?
Okay, pause this shit. Okay, I was watching the thing. Go ahead. I know you're pissed at me, so I expect to hear a lot of abuse. Go ahead. Tell me I'm shit.
I'm going to tell you this. I don't care who you are. If you do anti-imperialist work, I will support you. But if you try to hinder the anti-imperialist movement, I don't care even if you have done anti-imperialist work. I don't care how much anti-imperialist work you've done. I will attack you.
What makes that? Who's the anti-imperialist movement? And why are they an anti-imperialist movement
There's no one person that's and you are part of the anti-imperialist movement. If
do you see me doing any? Do you ever see me saying like, yes, we should go to war? Do you ever see me saying like those anti-imperialist?
I see you trying to. I constantly see you. Like anytime you're trying to interact with me, it's always to try to like start shit with other anti-imperialists, like Rana, like Haas, or like Moffat.
What about Larry Elder? What about Stephen Lee?
Who the fuck is Larry Elder?
Exactly. We're the whole list. What about James Rogowski? We're a whole bunch of different people that are blackballed by the fucking by Jimmy Dore and his crew.
Then build your own shit. Build your own shit. You don't like Jimmy Dore? Build your own shit, right?
And the fact that they're blackballing me.
But don't try to build it off Jimmy Dore, right? Don't try to leech off of.
I'm not leeching off of him, but I'm not leeching off him. But the fact of the matter is that if they blackball me, they get blackballed themselves. The way they treat me is the way they're gonna get treated, and that's it. I don't give a fuck what's gonna fucking happen, bro. You know what I mean? The fact of the matter is that if they think they get to shut me out, then I'll shut them out just the same fucking way. I don't give a fuck, bro. I really don't. Now, look, I'm not against the war, but don't think anybody gets to shut me out. That's it.
You don't give a fuck about.
I don't.
You can.
I don't. Come get me, man. Come get me, bro. Go ahead. Kill me for the anti-imperialism. What the fuck is wrong with you, man? Yo, Jackson Hinkle leads the shit, but I'm Korean American. I've really suffered from the war recently too, bro.
I don't care what the fuck you are. Jackson Hinkle's way bigger than you are, dude.
So because Jimmy Dore is making him to cover up for Nick Brana. That's why.
Nick Brana and Jackson Hinkle.
That's why. You think Jackson Hinkle actually knows about what's going on in the world? Does he have any personal experience, or is he just being told what to say? He's a young kid. He don't know shit.
You are wrecking for the Democrats.
What?
You are wrecking for the establishment. You are doing the dirty work of the establishments.
All they gotta do is acknowledge me and have me on, and then we're gonna be at peace. But they won't do that.
Why should they have you on? Who the fuck are you? Who the fuck are you for them to have you on? So you can just talk shit about them and try to take their views? Fuck you. Go build your own shit.
I'm
Stop
doing
trying to
that,
leech off
and
stuff.
and since I'm forced to do my own shit, then I'll tell all the people on the way up to not fuck with them either, and that's just what it is. Look, you're
No,
right.
you're
They don't
trying
have to
to.
fuck with me, and they don't.
You
You know, what I mean, they don't have to fuck with me, and I'm the same way. So if they don't
You're
fuck
trying
with
to
me,
manipulate.
then I don't fuck with them, and they shut me out. I shut them out. That's just the way it is. So come get me, bro. Beat me the fuck up. Threaten me. Do what the fuck you gotta do, bro. Do what you gotta do. But if the more pain you bring to me, I'll find your people and bring pain to them. You know what I mean? You fucking savior of the, you know what I mean? You fucking imperialist savior. You destroy my home and fucking force me to come here.
You are nothing. You are nothing. In fact,
Okay.
you must love to see your people getting.
So what? I know
like,
Asian Americans.
Love to
You're
see
right.
the Korean
There's no such thing as Asian American activists. So fine. I don't expect to be anybody or anything. You're telling me I ain't shit, and I know that. I ain't shit, and never gonna be shit. So what? You're not hurting me. You see me stopping? You see that they squash me. You see my numbers ain't going up. You're right. I'm small, but I ain't stopping. I'm not here to fucking hurt the anti-imperialist movement. You've never, default. You're the one attacking me, and I'm the anti-imperialist, right? Why are you backing them? Because they got views. Why are you backing them up? Is that why? Is there anything more to it than that?
I don't back them up.
Because I've never.
I don't really care.
Find me some evidence of me ever saying that we should go to war. Find me some fucking evidence.
I don't particularly back them up over your dispute.
We
I
got
only
no
back
evidence,
them up
bro.
when they do anti-imperialist work. When they also do this kind of infighting shit, I will also criticize them.
Yo, is this you?
Yo, what up?
Yo, I default on the other line. Let me. You want me to invite him? He's yelling at me and shit.
Yeah, that's fine. I've talked to that guy for
Fine, I think it'll be fun. Yeah.
Well, why not?
Like I'm not trying to cut him off.
Okay.
Be fun. Okay. Yo, default, you there? This is my friend Allie right here. I mean, you can tell I'm a piece of shit if you want.
Huh?
I have my own people, default. Allie, do I ever say that we should go to war and shit like that? No, right?
What's up?
Do I ever say that we should go to war, or do I ever say that I'm for imperialism or anything like that?
I don't recall that I've
No.
heard you say either of those things.
You hear me saying
So
that I'm
when
Korean
I'm
American and that I suffered from the war and had to run away from home due to violence? Oh, he left.
No.
Okay. Well,
Oh, well,
you don't want to
wait,
hear
yeah.
it. I told
I
you
don't
he's
think
really
he
mad
was
at me.
here. I think he was. It was like blinking, so I don't even know if he was actually here. I'm confused.
I don't know
Default,
either,
come
yeah.
back. Huh?
Look, he's telling me that I'm the enemy. Look, the LaRouche leadership is really trying to fuel up their people to come and attack me on the streets. Now.
Yeah,
I mean,
I can see that.
There's a lot of money.
I-
There's a lot of money involved in this. You know what I mean? They want the New York market. It's 8 million, 0.5. If they've made mostly in LA, they haven't been. And also Jimmy Dore, he died to do shows in New York. I know he make 8,000 by doing one show on one night show. That's one show in North Carolina. You know what I mean?
8,000 one night. I guess
Yeah.
that doesn't surprise me. He's probably doing
Just
real
do the
well
math.
right now.
Just do the math. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
He would
yeah.
love
He's
to come
doing
to
all
New
kinds
York,
of shows.
but he's been scared to. You know what I mean? Because whenever they go out, I hold up QR codes and showing them the links to how they're all messed up and shit. I've been shutting them down. Now they're trying to really they tried it with Ricky. I didn't let that go down. They tried it with they tried to import Rome from he's the most street cat, you know what I mean?
Right.
I
He's like
actually
the
kind of like
legit
Rome,
one.
you know what I mean? But
Yeah, he says it like it is. I mean,
they try to roll him into the Green Party and create they've been doing it for a while. And the Assange movement, they replaced me with they had to have Sabby Sabs do it in DC. The whole New York crew came. Most of the New York crew went down to DC for that latest thing with the Misty. So
What did she do? What was it?
they had some kind of Assange thing, and then Misty supposedly organized it, but it was really her just relying on the star power of Jimmy Dore to bring the usual crew down. It's the same old crew, but actually they brought Sabby Stabs, who's new, but it's
Interesting. They brought, yeah, I mean, it's very clear that they're all in it, they're just working together. But the LaRouche movement, because I've been kind of checked out a bit. What is that like in terms of their partnership? Is that recent, the LaRouche movement, working with this particular crowd?
So some people, quite a few people say that the LaRouche movement might be CIA related. Anything's possible.
Seems like it.
I mean, it's been said, but it's possible that they also make accusations the other way. But let's look at the facts and what's available, and we can examine. So I think it's an interesting topic here. So let's take a look.
I agree.
The LaRouche movement is known for starting back in LaRouche was actually a figure during the Reagan era.
Right.
He actually was known for, he got some level of power when his idea for something called the anti-missile defense, something like that, like Star Wars it was called. And what happened was that if the missiles came over, it was supposed to zap the missiles in the sky. But, you know, I guess the other people said that, you know, the lasers could also shoot anywhere in the world. So there was also, you know, there was also the possibility for Star Wars to be developed into some kind of super, you know, will destroy anything on Earth at any time. You get what I mean? So, but the idea of, you know, I understand the nuclear war is now I'm starting to see a little bit of a pattern here. But they say it's an existential threat. So everything else, you're not allowed to ask questions. You're not allowed to, you know, this thing, they need you to do it right now. And look, it might just be leadership, right? A lot of leadership and a lot of organizations do this a lot. I can't say the leaders are not particularly guilty of this or particularly guilty of this. I don't want to badmouth them too. I spent some time with them, exploring them. There are some things I like about them. They do have a love for science. They do like to talk. They are into like kind of more classical culture. Nowadays, right? If you saw the latest, if you watched the Caleb Maupin and the Nick Brana thing, they've actually there's actually one where Nick Brana obviously went to Fiverr or something and hired like some crew to make some kind of like a hip hop video, right? Yeah, for the People's Party. And then now, right, Jose Vega and the new younger team of the CPI crew are making like hip videos, and they're pretty badass. They're like going to Bernie and saying, "What about the Ukraine war? Stop funding the Ukraine war." And I say there's some validity to that. You know what I mean? Like, but once again, it's like you said with we'll see if they're Caleb Maupin and Nick Bond are not out there doing that. It's Jose Vega, but the LaRouche movement sees this as a pathway for them to get more mainstream acceptance and views and clout. And
so were they? Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you.
I can't really blame them for that. All right, I'm not mad at them getting the views and the clout, but the fact that they're willing to sacrifice someone like myself, who's been an ally and by their side, and was once again, remember that I have video evidence that I was the first person to reach out to Socialist MMA, aka Nick from Revolution Blackout, before Jimmy Dore, before Harlan's Media, anybody. I was the first one. Before anybody contacted Diane Sayre from Jimmy Dore's crew or from Caleb, you know, any of them, I was the first one talking to Diane Sayre. You get what I mean? So all these people have turned their back on me for, you know, the Jimmy Dore crew. The Assange movement here turned their back on me for the Jimmy Dore and the celebrities that they bring in, the access, and you know yeah, that's really true. So,
excuse me, give me one sec.
Now the LaRouche movement is known for having, back in the day when they said there was Communist Party and stuff. They accused them of being CIA plants, and they were known for, you can look this up, they would run into places and beat people up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm reading about them now. I'm gonna be honest, I didn't really know anything. Yeah, so I'm reading.
So I think some of them kind of like me because, like, when I'm at events, you know, like you've never seen me live, but you see me in the videos. You know, like I'm not the type to hold back, and I'm not trying to be a violent person, but I'm not stepping back from anything. Yeah, I mean, you know that, right?
When you go to events, I'm gonna flip the script on you. When you go to events, though, do you go like specifically just to go, or do you have a purpose? Meaning, are you there to kind of not fuck shit up, but you want to be loud, right? Like when you go to these events, which isn't a bad thing.
Now,
I'm just
the
curious.
thing is that really, okay. The thing is that going to events, you guys are not wrong in saying that electoral politics is not necessarily the solution, but it's one tool.
It's a tool, yeah. It's
in
a
an
tool.
Overall, right? Yeah, thing that's going. It's not always right. Sometimes you just want to say what movie should we watch, and you take a vote, right? It's theoretically there's nothing really wrong with it, right?
Correct. It's a tool. It is a tool.
Yeah, but
I never thought it wasn't a tool. It's just, I don't know really of anyone that thinks that just only electoral politics is the only way that you can get anything out of life. So go ahead.
Okay, but the true impetus for change is people have to make the change, and who's going to make? Which people are those? Are the ones who are motivated. People. So I really talk to people on the ground. Now the people that are going to go to events are people that are more motivated. Right? Yeah, the average person, they could sign a petition online, they could like a post, you know what I mean? But someone's going to the event, they might be doing it for social reasons, they might be doing it for clout reasons, they might be doing it for money, right? Yeah. But something else is driving that person to be there. you sometimes there's some authentic, like, or deep down there's an authentic reason. Sometimes they get sidelined by the bullshit, or they get caught in the rapture of being able to influence people or being someone with, famous or whatever. They get sidelined.
Sure.
And
Sure.
remember the thrill, right? I remember the thrill, right, of someone important talking to you and stuff like that. But after I did it a bunch of times, and after I was seen in that position several times, I realized that they're just people like you and me. You may have experienced that as well, right? So they're just going through the normal shit, and you really appreciate when people just can interact with you like a normal person. You don't have that pressure of, performing for them like fucking, because that's really what you are to them to a certain extent. You know what I mean?
Do you think that these people that you're kind of talking about, this crowd, do you think that's like their mindset? I guess what I'm getting at is this.
Okay.
To back it up a bit with the LaRouche movement specifically, what do you think? I want to go back to that. What do you think? Like the random, like they're like mentioning it now. So that's what I mean. When did they move in? I'm not like saying that they're all bad people. I don't know anything about this, but I'm reading and it's like, oh, began at a far left politics.
That's just reported by the news media, and then I've talked with some of them themselves. So that's cool, right? But once again, am I even talking to the real LaRouche people? God knows, because that movement itself has had several splits that probably
right, like any other movement. It seems in 2019 something drastic or something must have changed in that. I don't know, because I don't want to get into it. There's
been several.
Not going to pretend I know what happened. I guess my point is like, why is this becoming evident now from what you've observed? Why do you think that there's a sudden? I don't want to say merger.
Well, remember
but that's
talking
you
before
know what I'm
about the
saying?
possibility of a CIA connection, and let's explore some of the facts of the matter, right, about the LaRouche organization itself. And, it might be true, might not be true, like what I was telling about some things that I like. Let's go over some other facts, right? The fact of the matter is that if you go to, like, something like Schiller Institute, we could go to the online, and maybe we'll go to that together. I'll share my screen with you in a moment. You could see that they actually have quite a large international presence. There's people from Europe quite heavily, people from Africa participating. To tell you the truth, we recently went to, I can actually share that with you. I have video that I haven't put out yet. I have quite a bit of backed up video. I have to do everything. I can't do it all.
I'm sure you have a lot, yeah.
So I'm going to Schiller Institute right now. I'm going to share my screen with you, and you'll see there.
Is that Ali from Yellow Bro, sir?
Oh shit, is someone here?
Hi, Default.
Default, what's up, bro? What's up, brother?
I don't know anything about it.
Default, it seems to me you're actually... I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, I was just gonna say, it seems that there's just this, like, sudden emergence in this particular topic.
Default,
that you were telling me about.
What is that? What topic? What topic is this?
Well, I'm just
the Schiller Institute and the LaRouchians. I explain it to me like in 5.
I'm just sharing with Ali what I know about the LaRouchians and what I've learned in my time with interacting with the Schiller Institute. I'm not here to bash them. I said some things I have questions about, but I just said some positive things too. Straight, I mean, you don't have to believe me. I'm not here to cook them. I really don't know 100% about the organization. I'm just trying to just paint a picture here. But it seems like you might be, are you a Schiller Institute guy? Are you a LaRouchian?
I like what they're doing. I like what they're doing with regarding towards opposing NATO, opposing imperialism.
I agree with that, to tell you the truth. I've actually sent, on my latest newsletter, I could show that to you on my screen, I actually promoted Sarah, and I said she faced some unfair conditions. So just so you know, my latest newsletter, I can show that on my screen too. I'm not lying. I promoted Sarah on my newsletter, which went out like on election day, just a couple days ago. So do you even know? So you say that I'm hurting people. Despite what they're doing to me, I'm still sticking up for them. Default. Did you know?
Why are we sticking up for them?
Stick up for them.
Why do we need to be?
Because I believe in the anti-imperialist message. That's why.
Well, it's just a message.
The anti-imperialist message. You believe
I'm
the
a victim of anti-imperialism. Default.
So why do you want to try to rope me into this infighting within the movement?
Because Caleb Maupin and fucking Nick Bronner are crooked and bad. They're not.
Why does that matter? I don't mean
they're anti-imperialists. They are anti-imperialists. I don't fucking care. I don't care. I don't care how bad they are. If they're anti-imperialists, I'm not going to attack.
What does that mean, though? I'm actually really curious now. I'm just randomly invited to this. When they say they're anti-imperialist, like, what material conditions come from that we've seen? I'm not questioning. I'm like genuinely asking.
Literally, their entire brand. They go out. Their entire brands are built on opposing NATO, right? When they go out onto the internet, when they type, when they make their content is pushing an anti-imperialist message.
an anti-NATO,
Okay,
anti-war
okay.
message.
Okay,
That tends to be a
show
quite
you my.
popular one.
I
So I'm
actually
not
want to.
surprised that there's like
Yeah.
a remarriage of
So
it.
I'm
Then just go
not
ahead.
going to spread this kind of shit against them.
I'm going
Why
to.
is it
I'm going
And
against?
if they
Who's
were to,
against them? Who's against? I don't even know what the.
there's
allowed to
plenty of
question
people.
them.
So there's people trying to. What?
Okay, let me show you my email where I actually promote Sarah. Let me show you. Yeah, I'm gonna show you right now. Let me share my screen. Give me a second. I'll show you the proof. I don't.
Good,
I'm not
good for
making this
you.
shit up.
Good for you for promoting an anti-imperialist.
Yo, but
What?
but,
Should do more of
but I'm
that.
not gonna be
I
like
don't
okay with the sex shit. Like I'm gonna be like, and I'll show you. I said I was okay with her message, but I said that also the sex shit's not cool. She disappointed me on the justice, disappointed me regarding her commitment to justice. I said her campaign had been treated unfairly. She validates access to resistance. I encourage people to vote for her for Senate. Right there, man. I'm sticking up for Sarah. You know what I mean? Straight up. I
What the
do
fuck
have
is
differences,
Sarah?
but
She's an
I will
anti-imperialist?
call. I mean, I just want to just say, I still like Sarah and the anti-imperialist message. I'm a huge fan, but I will defend myself, and I will not permit myself to be. And that's it. So, default. If that's what we're going to argue, and if I'm the enemy because of that, you know what I mean? Because I'm interfering with their shit because I feel like they're interfering with me. That's just it is what it is, bro.
How much? Okay, let me ask you this: how much time was like Moppin or Brana spent going after you?
There's victims, man.
What?
Do you know how much money they're collecting? They're collecting $30,000 a fucking month. And what did they do with that money? Didn't Nick Brown
What have their victims done? What have their victims done for the movement? What have their so-called victims and their accusers done for the movement? What have they done for the
I
anti-imperialist
had something called the Unified Platform for 22, where I gathered candidates from around the nation, breaking ranks with party lines and that's where I was the first one to talk to Jeff Young, the first one to talk to Diane Sayre, the first one to talk to Nick from
Jeff Young? Fuck what? Jeff Young.
Huh? What did you say?
Little bitch tried going after Haas.
Haas? When did I go
Little
after Haas?
wrecking piece. Jeff Young. You don't know about the Jeff Young infrared beef?
No. But I like Jeff Young.
Fuck. He tried to appeal to the Twitter wokey leftists by attacking infrared.
Jeff Young?
Oh no.
Yeah, Jeff Young.
That?
Listen,
Why?
I don't really watch
Jeff Young, the guy that just got fucking roasted by his Republican opponent, right? He got fucking destroyed by his fucking Republican opponent and he ran Democrat, right? And he just lost in a landslide.
Haas like support the Republican? Like why was he mad at Haas? Like why would he just out the blue? Like did Haas say something that he was unhappy with, or I don't know. I'm completely into this.
He's a wreck. He participated in a bunch of infighting with Haas. Now I don't exactly know. I don't think Haas himself was. I don't think Haas himself. Yeah, this happened over the past few months. It happened over the past few months.
Nobody told me about
and now it's
this.
going.
I swear to God, I never knew. I'm disappointed to hear that. I met a fan of Haas yesterday when I was on the. If you know people in New York, yeah, met a fan of Haas yesterday, and he said that you know. I'm new. I really don't know if Haas is good or bad. Really, I just haven't watched the stuff. But I know Jackson Hinkle is definitely bad. But that's just me. But you know,
Jackson Hinkle's what?
Definitely bad.
Bad.
Yeah.
Quote unquote bad. He's one of the most he's one of the largest platforms.
I think he's exactly who he always was.
He's pumping financial
told
products
everyone
on
that
his
he's exactly
bro.
who.
What?
Isn't he telling people
he literally calls
401ks
himself
with him or some
a propaganda streamer.
A what? He calls himself a what?
I'll show it to you.
Like
Jackson
a
Hinkle's
left, like I don't know. It's just like from day one, he called himself like a, what did he say? Like political streamer, like a propaganda streamer. Like the dude obviously understands marketing. It's just like it's a brand. It's like what? There's not much.
It's a brand, but he's pushing the right kind of brand. I don't care what his motivation.
The right brand now that fits
pushing the right message. If he's pushing the right message, yeah, and I'm an anti-imperialist, and he's pushing an anti-imperialist message.
Tomorrow, if he's not, what does that say?
Then if he's not, then if he starts pushing a pro-imperialist message, I will attack him. It's simple as that.
If he's
simple
promoting
as
an
that.
imperialist message, that's cool, and and props to him for that. But on all the other shit that's going on, that doesn't make it delete or over. And I know you feel like it overrides, and everybody has a right to their own priorities.
What other shit? I'm not here to fucking virtue signal, okay? I'm not here to purity test people. I'm here to build a broad anti-imperialist coalition.
I'm the bad guy, right? So,
and then what?
Yeah. Then you are
okay. So I'm virtue
you are here
to
try to wreck the anti-imperialist movement. You are my enemy. It's simple.
I'm not trying to wreck
them.
I just showed you I'm supporting
who said
them.
anyone was here
I
to
just
wreck
showed
it?
you, man, on election day. I'll show you the date. Do you want to see it again?
What?
I'm not trying to wreck them. I'm just saying that they're treating me unfairly.
You know what
What?
I can't even understand what you're saying.
Listen,
So
that's
much
my
distortion.
position, man. Don't take personal.
You just
Is
seem
there
very
anything else to
pissed
say?
off.
Because
I
honestly,
don't
I just
know,
want to
gotta
say
just-
There's so
I'm
much
interested in
distortion coming
I'm
from your
interested
mic.
in exploring more about the
Yeah,
Larouche
it's pretty
movement
bad,
and the Schiller
Ed.
Institute. and learning
Can
what
you
they're
understand him,
Pretty
Ali?
bad.
because they have a lot of
No,
history.
not at all.
DJ, you need to change your.
Just maybe.
My mic?
Oh, he's really pulling this guy. I mean, oh Lord.
Well, look, sometimes you gotta
Thought
suffer
that Ed
through.
was
People
gonna
have different
provide
priorities. You gotta work with that. But
entertainment above his party. Here we are looking at the Schiller
I
Institute.
think the Schiller
This
Institute
seems
is
really
worth
odd
studying.
to me. Their
You don't have
answer
to, yeah.
cool. They
Um,
said they were anti-imperialist. I guess maybe
So-
I should frame
What do you
this
think
differently.
about
It would be
NATO?
it would
What do you
be
think about the
nice
Ukraine
to-
war?
Oh Lord, here we go.
What do you think about the Ukraine war?
Well, I will tell you very soon.
personally,
I was gonna
I don't pay
say-
attention to any
I
news
was trying
going
to
on
say,
overseas.
don't you think that it's just a bit like flighty to just that's all it takes is just somebody telling you their word like, oh yeah, anti-imperialist. Like, okay. I don't know. I need
What are
more
you
than that.
saying? Like,
That's all
what
it
are
takes
you
is somebody
talking
to
about?
just scream, I'm anti-war. That's all it takes.
It's not simply. It's not just that. He's literally proven his chops. Look at his content over the past year. It's been round the clock anti-imperialism. So it's not just simply not just simply
Okay,
lip
and how
service. He's actually put his money where his mouth is.
I never argued that he wasn't like I don't know enough to say like hang on. Like I'm not coming at this in a personal way. I don't have any skin in this game. I'm just asking questions out of curiosity.
I'd like to ask another question, Default. Yeah. Now the thing is that
Go
I
ahead.
know that
DJ,
Jackson has been.
I can't understand you.
Yeah,
I don't think
that's
any of us can understand.
I'm sorry. Yeah, can you hear me now?
No.
No. Do I have like a bad
No, not
reverb or
really.
something? Let me see if I could change my put my headphones on. Give me a second.
It just sounds you're kinda like you're like
Is this
in
better
a
now?
fishbowl.
Is this better now?
Completely underwater, DJ.
It sound underwater?
Unintelligible.
I'm sorry. Is it
sounds
better
like
now?
you're so muffled.
Ugh. It's not any
On
better now.
NATO, don't you think it's like interesting that that's a test now? It seems like. What do you think of it? I don't know. It's
I
just-
absolutely agree with this. If you're not anti-NATO, then I don't care what other
Okay.
positions you have.
But wait a minute.
well,
Okay. The thing is that one person that we.
oof.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I don't care what I don't care if you
Problems
want to. I don't care if you want to be if you're pushing for Medicare for all. But if you're not anti-NATO, if you're not anti-NATO, then
So if I could
It's
if I could respond to
over?
that.
Like
Go
there's
ahead.
just no saving them people.
then
What about okay? So the
Then,
thing is that
I
you
don't
keep
consider
talking
you
about
my
NATO,
ally.
right? But what about
Because of that.
AFRICOM? Why
Well,
is
maybe
all the
people are trying to
discussion?
be your ally. Ed, I'm so sorry. You got your mic. It's like
Oh yeah.
I
I'm
feel
so
like
sorry.
you're
Yeah.
like trapped behind like a glass wall, and it's
Oh,
not
man.
good.
Okay. Let me
Yeah,
let me
it's not
rejoin or
great.
something. Give me a second. Okay. I'll come right back.
Okay, yeah, go right ahead.
Okay, let
It's
me turn
fine.
off the streaming. Actually, maybe it's that. I
Okay.
have this effect cluster on. Did that help it?
It's
Is
you're
it better now?
no, it's all
No?
good, dude. Just do what you gotta
Suck.
do. It's all good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Is it better now? Check. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I can do it. It's fine. I can.
got a little better?
We can make it work.
Not really.
Not really.
I'm so sorry. Yeah. Well, just say AFRICOM. AFRICOM.
I heard that. So what the fuck?
Why you only edit NATO?
I don't know.
What about AFRICOM? Are you fighting imperialism globally or only in Europe?
There's a lot going on, but so whatever you're doing.
You see in the chat what I wrote there, Alien Default? I typed in the chat. You guys could discuss it.
I can't hear you.
I typed in the chat. Look in the chat. Oh, Default left? Oh, it sucks. Oh! Okay, give me a second. Yeah, let me get back into the call. Let me get out and get back in. I'm sorry. I don't even know how to do that. Oh, it sucks.
Gonna stab him.
Are you guys watching a movie? Yeah, okay, let me stop that. Check.
Sir, hey, sir.
Oh, it's whack. This is whack. Okay, let me get out of here. Fuck. Can you hear me now? Is it still shitty? Hello? Check. I thought I heard you for
think
a
I hear
second.
someone. Your audio is very
Oh no,
low.
I'm with fucking
Ed,
Yellow
your
My
audio
bad.
is so bad, dude.
Oh man.
Oh, hey, Ollie.
That's...
Hello.
I'll get back to you. Hold on a second.
Ed, that guy gives me a headache. I'm good.
Yeah, I feel you. I'm done with him too.
I'm not. He bores me. So.
So hold up, yeah. Check, check, check. Yeah, check, check. I sound good to myself. Let me get in the rap room. Check, check.
Ballin' like Mac Odell. Nigga just talking me ass. Nigga just sit your ass down. Nigga, you a fucking clown. Nigga hit the fucking ground. Nigga hit the.
And ramming people.
Yes, I am, sir.
Yo, check, check. Can you hear me?
I got 4s of 4. I ain't got 5.
I've been off a brick and she gon' tell me that she love me. Why she switching sides and now the shorty say she fuck me? Off my dick and she.
Can you guys hear me?
Bitch on my dick and she claim I'm a thug.
Check, check.
Move,
Now.
bitch.
Move, bitch. Get out the way. Bitch, I ain't like what you just had to say. Suck on my dick and don't
Am I
play
still
on
in
the
this room
game.
over here?
Why you gonna talk
That's
like
my
you
fault.
really
Damn,
What the
son.
For
fuck?
some reason I'm watching it.
Going crazy, fuck.
I'm in that rap room, okay. I wish I could get the video working. I really do want to actually finish this this discussion regarding yeah. It'd be nice